sewists! In this video, I'm going to show you how to sew this simple wrap-back top in just a couple of hours. You can find the sewing pattern for this top in my Etsy shop, Verga Patterns. There you'll also see all the details about fabric, supplies, and notions you'll need. And for the first few days after this video goes live, this pattern will be available with a discount. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. It really helps me grow this little space. Also, do not forget to join my WhatsApp community, where I give out a free sewing pattern every Sunday. Alright, let's get started. Step 1. Assembling the pattern. Before you begin, check the test squares on the first page. They should measure exactly 1 by 1 inch or 2.5 centimeters. Once that's done, start putting the pattern together. Lay out the pages in rows of 4, like 1, 2, 3, 4, then 5, 6, 7, 8 for the next row. You can pin the sheets like I do in the video, or just tape them together. Then cut out the pattern pieces. Step 2. Cutting the fabric. Now it's time to cut the fabric. Pay attention to the grain line. The arrow on the pattern should be perpendicular to the selvage. Also check for the fold marking. If you see it, place that edge right along the folded fabric, as I show you. Don't forget the lining. Cut it out in the same way as the main fabric. Step 3. Interfacing. Before sewing, we need to reinforce a few areas. I use fusible strips, both straight and bias. Apply them to the neckline, the armholes, and the hem. That's it, we're ready to move on. Step 4. Sewing the darts. Now let's work on the darts. Fold each dart right sides together along the center line. Pin it in place, and sew from the side seam toward the dart point. Remember to backstitch at the start and at the end. Press the dart upward. Then press again from the reverse side. Trim the excess. And done. You're doing great. Now repeat the same thing with the lining. Pin, sew, press, and trim. Step 5. Side seams. First, place the pieces of the garment right sides together and pin them along the entire length. Now mark the seam allowance. The seam allowance is 1 centimeter. Then sew them together on the machine, remembering to backstitch at the beginning and at the end of the stitch. Do the same on the other side. Press the seam allowance with the iron, spreading the seam allowances to opposite sides. Repeat the same on the lining. Pin the side seam along the entire length and also mark the seam allowance of 1 centimeter. Do the same on the other side seam. But here there is one important difference. We need to leave an opening for turning the lining, just as I did. Now sew the side seam, making 2 stitches without closing the opening. The seam allowance is 1 centimeter. This is how a good result with the unstitched opening should look. Now press the seam allowance with the iron, pressing the seam allowances to opposite sides. Step 6. Processing the neckline. We are moving on to the neckline. Start by pinning the lining to the main fabric. Remember to place the lining right side to the right side of the garment. Mark a seam allowance of 0.7 cm. Now stitch the lining to the main fabric. Press the seam. Next, clip into the seam allowance for a better fit, as I show in the video. Trim away the excess so that the seams look neat. Press the neckline from the right side. Now mark a line of stitching at 0.1 centimeters and sew it so that the seam allowance is caught underneath the stitch, just as I do in the video. Finally, press the seam once more as shown. All done. You did a great job. Step 7. Processing the armhole. Now let's move on to the armhole. Place the lining right side to the right side of the garment and pin it in place. Mark a seam allowance of 0.7 cm. Sew it on the machine. Don't forget to make notches. Now clip into the seam allowance as I show in the video. Press the seam. Next, turn the lining to the inside and sew a decorative top stitch 0.1 centimeters from the edge. Finally, press the result neatly. Step 8. Hem. Now let us process the hem of the garment. Carefully align the lining and the main fabric. Mark the seam allowance of 0.7 centimeters. Stitch the seam with the sewing machine. Do not forget to clip into the seam allowance as I show you in the video. Excellent! Now let us turn the garment right side out. Press the entire seam allowance with the iron. Now place the shoulder seams together as I show you in the video. Turn the garment and pin them. Now stitch the seam with the sewing machine. The lining should go inside the garment. The finished result should look like this. Step 9. Final processing. We need to close the opening. Stitch it at 0.5 centimeters and sew it on the machine. All done. The finished result should look like this. Do not forget that you can also join my WhatsApp sewing community and ask me any question about any of my patterns there. And please give this video a like and subscribe to the channel. Since I do not have many subscribers, every one of you helps a lot with my growth. Thank you for watching, and have a wonderful day.